What's up, upstanders? Dr. O here, and I just have a question. Like, when you see what Trump wants to do with the Department of Education, I just find myself asking, like, do Republicans and conservatives and people in red states have children with disabilities? Do they have children who need occupational therapists in school or speech therapists or students who need to be in classrooms with paraprofessionals, students who may have other types of um, learning challenges and the like? I mean, seriously, when you look at what's happening with this, the idea of destroying the Department of Education, which is what Trump ran on, I mean, obviously, this is a rhetorical question because the Department of Education mainly supports people who are in red states. And so the fact that this could even be a question is amazing. And it's not even talk. And we can also talk about public education, public schools or K to 12 schools. What I mean to talk about. But what about colleges? Any of y'all got kids in college or who aspire to go to college and could probably use some student loan assistance and the like? Or like all of that and more wants to be trashed by Trump. Like, what are people really doing about it? And so when I'm seeing these stories out here, how do people not know what the Department of Education really does as it relates to their state? Because the fact of the matter is, he's used this idea of we want to turn education over to back to the states. And that's why we want to get rid of the Department of Education, which is nonsense because the states already control education. There are I've spoken all across this country. I've been speaking in schools, K to 12 schools, as well as the college level for over 30 years. The standards are different in different states. What standards for Massachusetts are different than Maryland. The Maryland standards are different than Arkansas. The Arkansas is different from Georgia, which is different from California. That's states, right? So the states have always been in control. Now, if we want to talk about before federal government comes talks in, gets in, let's go back to Brown v. Board education, and we saw what states were doing as it relates to controlling of education in terms of access. Federal government, Department of Education, help streamline access for everybody. But there are real services. Like 90% of kids in this country go to public schools. There are real concerns and real needs that these public schools meet from, like I said, from things like occupational therapy, speech therapy, IEPs, if you don't know, individualized education plans, special education services, special needs services. Can we talk about food? And the fact that many kids in our country, the only place they'll get at least 2 meals a day is in school. Can we have that conversation? And the only place where some kids will get access to decent Wi-Fi. Now, some schools are even challenged as it relates to that, but some will get access to decent Wi-Fi is through school. So this is really where we have to test how committed protesters are to making this happen. Because here's a fun fact: Donald Trump can't end the Department of Education without an act of Congress. It's actually unconstitutional for him to end the Department of Education. And when y'all sitting there still trying to figure out if we are in a constitutional crisis. And this dude said even before he became president again that he don't care about the Constitution because an election stolen, the Constitution get rid of it. He's already said it. Y'all still trying to figure it out like Donald Trump's always 10 steps ahead of y'all. He stopped caring about the Constitution the first time he came around for president, which is why we had a little thing called an insurrection. I don't know if he can twist the hands of Congress to actually do this, but the fact of the matter is that he and Musk don't feel that they need to go to Congress to do anything. But who's calling their senators? Who's calling their Congress people? Who are you calling right now? The Department of Education. I mean, look, every agency that he's trying to scrap, from USAID, run down the list, VA, all of them are crucial. That's why they were created in the first place. But it's the certain level of cruelty that will come into play with gutting the Department of Education. McMahon doesn't have to know anything because, like Trump said, he just wants her to work herself out of a job. So when she's asked questions during the hearing, she can just say, I don't know, I have to get back to you on that. She doesn't really care. So, look, at the end of the day, I don't feel any department needs to be closed. But obviously, as somebody who has been a K to 12 teacher, somebody who taught from kindergarten to 12th grade to undergraduate and graduate level education has been my life in terms of what I do. And I've seen the faces on so many young people who the schooling was the only way that they could make a good life for themselves because of the various types of circumstances that they were dealing with, whether I've been in schools in rural communities or in urban communities. Our children deserve better. Are there issues? Of course there are issues, but they need to be improved upon. There are very there are so many services that our children depend on in this country that come from the Department of Education, which is the smallest department in government, but does so much. So Trump can say what he wants to say, Elon Musk can say what they want to say, but this is something that's going to have to rest with the people. We need to get out, continue to get out. We need to fight. We need to show up at people's doors of Congress, at their offices. I mean, and really make sure that they understand how deep. Because most of these Congress folks got their kids in private schools or they're really nice, charter schools or, the top notch public schools in their community that get more money because we fund schools in this country by the tax basis. So you can have a poor kid in the poorest community and a rich kid in the richer community who have equal intelligence, but the richer kid gets to go to a better school, not because of anything that he did, but because of the tax base of what his parents are making. That school gets more resources. It's a self-reinforcing cycle of poverty and lack of opportunity that gets created in this country by basically having kids' futures be determined by their zip code, which is something we also need to challenge in this education space. But again, the goal is not to dismantle Department of Education, is to make it better, make our educational policy better. That needs to be the goal. Our children deserve better than this. And you and me need to make sure that we're getting out there to fight. Parents deserve better than this. Parents who are struggling with their children in many ways because of the needs of their particular child. And then, of course, we can have conversations about curriculum standards, reading, literacy, right? All of these different things. We can't let it happen. I would say that this is the point when we should be saying enough is enough, but I actually said that when he won the election because I knew what was coming. And a lot of people are finding out now, but a lot more people are going to be finding out more about how this is really going to affect them. And I can guarantee you there's already senators and Congress folks getting their exemptions requests lined up. But we need to fight this in every way, shape, or form because our children deserve better. And I know that there's Republicans and conservatives out there who have children who need the services that the Department of Education provides to their schools because, particularly in these red states, your government ain't doing a damn thing for you. Nothing. They're too busy trying to figure out how to get some voucher programs going because really at the end of the day, Trump wants to gut the Department of Education and take those funds and, help with richer tax cuts, but also maybe help create some block grants to help more rich people get access to vouchers that they don't really need for school choice in the first place. You're being played, America. Malcolm said, bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray, run amok, like it's all happening right now. Peep game and get out there. And if you haven't been fighting yet, now might be your time. I'm here for it. Are you? Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit me up, comments. Just we got to have this discussion. We got to do this work. I'm here for it. Peace.